Today on Locked On Rockies, I wanted to revisit something from the winter meetings. Brenton Doyle in the leadoff spot for the Colorado Rockies. Do we like the idea? Are we hesitant about the idea? And Thomas Harding writes on MLB.com, the Rockies' plan for fixing the bullpen.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 18th day of December in the year 2024. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your favorite Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Find your team every day. And, of course, not only just on those streaming services, but also on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. We'll be talking about Brenton Doyle in the leadoff spot. We'll be talking about the Rockies' plans to fix the bullpen, including a new addition that they did sign for out of the minor leagues with a lot of energy. We'll talk about that coming up here too. And an interesting comparison I saw on Twitter yesterday from Blake Street Banter, and we will talk about that here coming up on today's show. Before we dive into everything today, today's episode is brought to you by the College Football Playoffs. The College Football Playoff is here, and you don't want to miss a moment of the action. The College Football Playoff presented by Allstate begins with 4 first-round games, December 28th and 21st, ESPN, ABC, TNT, and Max. So I wanted to start here. And again, I don't necessarily know how much we can take from this, how much this will transfer over, but I do have slight concern for Brenton Doyle out of the leadoff spot. 6 for 50, a homer, 7 RBI, and 3 runs scored. And so my breakdown of this is Brenton Doyle more effective on offense as the leadoff speedster to set up for other players to drive him in? Or is Brenton Doyle more of a 2 spot, maybe even a 3 spot? And I feel like with this one, it's still, the jury is still out, right? Because we've really only seen the 2 seasons of Brenton Doyle. We've only seen the 2 seasons of that. And we've seen 2 drastically different seasons on offense. And for it to flip immediately to go from, hey, we're hoping that Brenton Doyle is an average batter at best, mixed with that defense, and he'll be fine, and we can tuck him to the bottom of the order, to going up to the leadoff spot in the lineup for the Rockies. One, it's a sign of a great jump. Everything, that's good, exciting news. But at the same time, I hesitate a little bit because Brenton Doyle was second in RBI, last year. Brenton Doyle had 7 more RBI than Ryan McMahon. Brenton Doyle had, let's see here, almost 18 more RBI than Brendan Rodgers. He had 20 more RBI than Charlie Blackmon. And let's see, Jacob Stallings, he had plenty more there. The only person that had more runs on the team was 6 more RBIs driven in from Ezekiel Tovar. So when I see this switch, when I see the move basically to the leadoff spot, and that's what they're hoping for, I'm wondering if the Rockies are getting in the way of their run generation next year. I'm wondering, mixed with the fact that in the 50 at-bats that Brenton Doyle had last year, he wasn't necessarily great. at the leadoff spot. But on the, when you're also thinking about it, though, if Brenton Doyle is successful at getting on, can you become a lot more? I mean, can you instigate the hit and run a lot more? Is Tovar going to benefit from that? So I'm assuming Tovar's probably going to be in that 2-3 spot. Is there anyone that is a better fit for that leadoff spot? I was wondering. I was curious if maybe Estrada might be considered that, but I don't think the Rockies would want to make that commitment without seeing how the health bounce back is going to be for Estrada. I was wondering if maybe that is, and I don't necessarily know if you bring the new guy in and just plunk him right there. Because I guess I'm trying to think here, just off the top of my head. It'll probably go something like Doyle, Tovar. Are we putting KB at 3 if healthy, or is KB still going to be in that 3 to 5 range? Can we see Chris Bryant drop down to 6? Let's just play Chris Bryant at 3, Ryan McMahon at 4, Nolan Jones at 5, Estrada at 6. Let's see here. Who else do we got there? Probably Jacob Stallings at the 7 spot. And then let's see. Well, I guess so. Oh, I bet you it's more Toglia in that 5 spot. Estrada dips to the 6. Jones to the or maybe it's Toglia and Jones 5-6 area. Estrada 7, Stallings 8, whoever right field is at 9. That most likely could be it. And it is interesting. I mean, again, it's just the big great question, the big what if of the Chris Bryant offense and offensive impact as a primary DH, what that'll be if that's going to do any protection around those guys. It's very interesting to wonder what the return of Chris Bryant actually does for the lineup, and does it add anything around those guys? Does it pad them up a little bit? Because there are some batters that benefit from having strong batters in front of them, behind them, as we know in the game of baseball. And so when I hear that first initial lineup, I don't necessarily hate it. I'm just wondering, are we putting Brenton Doyle in the best spot? Is Brenton Doyle being put in the best situation to succeed going into a season with expectations, going into a season where we're all hoping that Brenton Doyle kind of takes the next step and becomes someone that's a factor, that's a force, right? We're all hoping for someone that's going to be, I mean, the next version, I think we're hoping of these two players. I mean, the next step for Doyle and Tovar, if they keep, on the upward trajectory, is all-star. If Doyle is able to play at an all-star caliber level on the offensive side from at the leadoff spot, that will set the tone for the Rockies. He is the right guy to get on base and have you starting the games off. We've also just seen when Doyle struggles. We've seen bad offensive performance from Brenton Doyle, and that's a lot to stake. And how long are you willing to stick with Doyle in the leadoff spot? Is this going to be something you're going to try throughout the whole year and make sure that you're going to just keep giving it rep after rep after rep to see if it improves? Is it something you're going to reevaluate after a couple of weeks? Because one thing that we know about the Rockies, especially, and one thing that we can take away from last year, is the Rockies need to eliminate the slow start. The Rockies need to eliminate the long stretch of period of bad baseball that we've talked about time and time again. The Rockies don't win back-to-back games that often. The Rockies don't go on win streaks all that often. So maybe I'm zooming too far out here. But if Doyle is unsuccessful at the leadoff spot, you're starting your offense off on the wrong foot. And you're putting pressure on a player to succeed in a spot where maybe that's not the best spot for him. But the build, the speed, the stolen base ability, the extra base hit potential really does set up for a Doyle being a leadoff guy, especially mixed in with the fact that, like, if everything goes perfect, I'm talking ultimate ceiling here, folks. So let me again put that disclaimer here before I get this. I think the best version of Brenton Doyle as an offensive player is a 30-30 guy. I understand with the hesitancy there. 30 home. Are you crazy? 7 more home runs from Brenton Doyle after hitting 23 last year. Are you sure that he can do that? He only slugs 446. But the fact that he was able to hit 23. The fact that he's getting stronger, the fact that he's getting more confident in himself and in being a major league starter, I do think that it is possible. Now, more likely it's in that 20 to 25 range, and stolen bases can be a little bit higher. I think the 30 is much easier to achieve on the stolen bases side, of course, for Brenton Doyle, who did in fact steal 30 bases last year. But I'm not going to deny, I mean, if we see another improvement, if we see Brenton Doyle add more power to his game, if Brenton Doyle is in fact able to be a successful leadoff hitter that is hitting maybe a little bit more power, the Rockies will have one of the more quality leadoff guys in the game. The Rockies will have a guy that continues to be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. This build is starting to really work at Coors Field. The tools of Brenton Doyle are ones that should be encouraging as Rockies fans. But the biggest pump of the brakes that we have to have is that with the sample size of Brenton Doyle overall, when we're talking about being a consistently great or good player, is too small. And with the difference between season 1 and season 2 being so drastic on offense, it's kind of hard to sit here and really fully make a prediction on what exactly Brenton Doyle is going to be as an offensive player next year. While FanGraphs has regression, I'm hoping for more for building up, for development still, because I have to have the confidence that the Rockies are going to get their players to a place of contention, because that's what they believe in. And again, grain of salt there. I know it doesn't always work, but that is the philosophy and the plan. So I have to hope that this team is actually able to get it, especially from one of their growing stars. Brenton Doyle has superstar potential. Brenton Doyle is walking the path towards superstardom. We'll just see what happens in this year 3 and the added pressure of leading on, what that does for Brenton Doyle. All right, folks, what do you think about Brenton Doyle leading off? Do you like the idea? Do you not like the idea? Let me know in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back talking bullpen coming up next here on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes SelectQuote. The World Series, the Super Bowls, the Olympics, the world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. SelectQuote's insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. Other life insurance brokers offer impersonal, one-size-fits-all policies that may cost you more and cover you less, while SelectQuote's licensed insurance agents work for you to tailor a life insurance policy for your individual needs in as little as 15 minutes. Head to SelectQuote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Get the right life insurance for you for less at SelectQuote.com/lockedon. Go to SelectQuote.com/lockedon today to get started. That's SelectQuote.com/lockedon. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast and Network. Free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Thanking you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, our pal Sully's bringing you Locked On MLB. lots of news around the world of Major League Baseball there. So go check it out. Don't miss out. Big time announcement. I guess yesterday was there was another big deal there as Cody Bellinger goes to the Yankees. So don't have to worry about him doing damage to the Rockies that much. That was the big baseball news yesterday as the Yankees continue to make some moves. They're going to be an interesting team as they're the moves that they've made definitely bolster them back up, and it'll be interesting to see how it pans out, especially going up against the juggernaut Dodgers there, and see what that action. But just a little update from the world of baseball. Let's get back to what we were talking about. The Rockies signed Jeffrey Yan. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. The 28-year-old left-hander. This is from Manny Randall here. The 28-year-old left-hander has kept his professional baseball dreams alive despite being out of affiliated baseball for a period of 4 years, during which the time he played in a men's league in Arizona, from which he was discovered by the Marlins in 2021. Things didn't work out with Miami, but Yan has earned another chance to finally reach the big leagues. The Rockies have signed him to a minor league contract with the hope that he can show he has what it takes to take it to the majors. Beyond his incredible story of perseverance, Yan is another way in which he shows his passion for the game. Reminiscence of another eccentric left-hander out of the Dominican Republic who once pitched for the Expos and Dodgers from 1995 to 2000. Yan is quite the reaction to succeeding on the mound. If you haven't seen it, he pops off. This is fun energy type of stuff. And this is a story here. Minor league deal. Give this guy a shot. Let's see it. I'm not going to dive into, what are they doing? Bringing this guy, blah, 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 all this stuff. Guess what? This is give a guy a chance, give him a minor league opportunity. Let's see what happens. And let's bring in a high energy guy to the Rockies and to this Rockies bullpen. I'm a huge believer in energy. I'm a huge believer that you need a guy that is a spark plug type guy, that even if going through struggles, keeps energy and momentum up in the dugout, in the locker room, all that stuff. I believe that's important because it's a long season. You need, and my prime example, if you've been listening to the show, I always go back to this guy, but Gerardo Parra was more important to the Rockies, not just for what he did on the field, which was good enough, but he was such a good piece at energy, pumping the team up, keep understanding the what was going on with the Rockies at that time with playoffs and being competitive. He kept the energy up. And when you have these guys that bring personality, that bring flair, that bring energy, especially, it changes the dynamic in the clubhouse. It changes the dynamic among the team. One of my biggest gripes about last year was how often the team looked lifeless. How often, and yes, there were times where it came after big blundering moments or big tough things that happened during the game. But it's still ball. You still got to be having fun. You still got to be having some energy out there in order to carry some momentum, to start building off of something. So when you have a guy like this who can jump up, who jumps up, makes a huge thing, and if he does make it to the big leagues, he's someone that means that he's improving. That means that whatever is working for this guy. It's a long shot, I'm sure, but just to give it, but this, when I see a story like this, I love it. And I love when there's baseball players that aren't afraid to be energetic, exciting guys. Baseball needs energetic and exciting guys because baseball's biggest moments are better when the players pop off. The big home runs are better when the players can pimp the home runs. The big strikeouts are better when the pitcher can go off the mound and hit a double arm cannon and go and give it a hoo-ah. Those moments deserve to be hyped up. If you go and you strike Shohei out in the bottom of the eighth with runners in scoring position to set up the close for your team, that's huge. That's a massive moment. It should be. You should pop off for that. Now, with baseball's the ultimate humbler, though, right? Football, in basketball, there's enough kind of back and forth stuff that happens. The time the momentum flips on a dime in baseball. So you got to be, you can't just sit there and go crazy, pop off and be like, whoa, we all did it. We got one thing done. But you got to recreate it and do it over and over and over again. You got to get all the outs. You got to get it all done. So that kind of adds in that little extra layer of like humble pie that the game serves you. But I love high energy. And it's not just baseball. I think high energy, I'm as a high energy guy, as a loud guy, as the guy who during my time in sports was the guy trying to clap the hands, pump people up, bring the energy. These types of signings do excite me a little bit. Because, again, it's not like this is a move that's going to be that one we have to put a ton of stakes into and we got to buy into a bunch of this stuff. No, the Rockies saw an interesting guy, gave him a minor league deal, and now here's an opportunity for him to continue his baseball career and give him a chance. I mean, because in reality, like, what truly is set in the Rockies bullpen outside of Victor Vodnik, right? I mean, there's at least the young guys that appeared still got a lot of proving to do and still got a full season of being a full-time Rockies bullpen guy before we can just necessarily sit here and say that everything in the bullpen is all fine and dandy. Let's read here from Thomas Harding's. Here's how Rocks plan to fix ninth inning woes. Thomas Harding, MLB.com. The 7.10 ninth inning ERA was the highest in baseball, 1.22 runs higher than the next club, the Blue Jays. That's so bad. Like that, just reading that stat just it's rips off the scab of the wound that was the Rockies bullpen in the ninth inning last year. The Rockies set a modern era record by blowing 6 leads of 5 or more runs in the ninth inning or later. Let's see here. The club continues to seek an experienced reliever, but general manager Bill Schmidt said during this week's winter meetings in Dallas that the Rockies aren't seeking a proven closer. More indication that the payroll is tight. But given the impression that some young relievers made during the second half, it's possible that there is a bargain waiting within. Rookies Victor Vodnik, Angel Shavihi, and Seth Halverson all had some success late in games, as well as moments where inexperience caught up to them. They also have the type of power arms that warrant chances to salt away games. Vodnik, Shavihi, Halverson, and Jaden Hill, Rockies' number 20th ranked prospect, were big reasons Rockies relievers averaged 95.4 miles per hour on four-seam and sinking fastballs after the All-Star break. The third highest bullpen velocity in MLB over that period. That's the big one to be looking out for right there. That's huge for me. It is in 97 games before the All-Star break, Rockies relievers threw 110 pitches at 99 miles per hour or greater, which ranked 14th in the majors. In the 65 games after the break, the Rockies uncorked 173 pitches at 99 miles an hour or greater, 8th most. Folks, that's the stuff to be focusing on. That will fix the bullpen. The bullpen will be fixed. You're like, it's just velocity. It's got to be accurate. Absolutely. But how many bullpens, how many teams turn to guys that come out of the bullpen and throw smoke? Here's something that's 85 or that's 93 that moves and breaks to the other thing, and then I'm going to pepper you a 99 mile an hour fastball right on your hands in the top right of the zone. We'll continue the bullpen conversation, but I just wanted to focus on that stuff right there because that's the type of stuff that can be a difference maker. When these young guys do show some interesting types of stuff that make you a little more exciting. Hopefully, with your Kinley and your Lawrence there. I think this is a good spot from Thomas Harding here. More experienced relievers Tyler Kinley and Justin Lawrence had the majority of the ninth inning opportunities last season, and both can be in the closer picture. But each has seen success earlier in games. So why not turn the late innings over to power arms, whether their go-to pitch is a fastball, Vodnik and Halverson, or a slider or changeup, Shavihi, who profiles more as a setup man, and Hill. Why not do that next year? What truly do you have to lose? I think that is I think Harding sums it up beautifully right there. Kinley and Lawrence aren't closers. They've had the opportunity to be closers, and they haven't gotten the job done. Let's turn to the young core and see what happens. Let's see if a closer can emerge out of these things. Let's give these young power arms the opportunity to show off those power arms. We'll see. We'll see. All right, folks, quick break. And then I want to tell you about an interesting little statistic here from the friends of the show, Blake Street Banter there, in regards to a certain first baseman of the Colorado Rockies. And we'll be doing that coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Locked On Rockies here, running out of time as we went a little late in our other segments, but I wanted to bring up something really interesting here. Let's see. I want to find this. Aha, here we go. This is from Blake Street Banter here, and this is basically comparing Michael Toglia to Giancarlo Stanton. And I'm pretty in on that. And here's Kevin. Kevin was the guy that was saying this. You might know Kevin is the guy that's that's got Dick Mumford's ears when it comes to emails. Get your young guys consistent playing time. Here's where Toglia and Stanton ended last season with their XWOBA. Stanton 352 XWOBA 87th percentile. Toglia 358 XWOBA 90th percentile. So this is, it's an advanced stat, and it's something that there's more to it. He's a young guy, but would you be okay if Toglia is basically Giancarlo Stanton? And I think I am. Gold Glove caliber defense at first base with the ability to hit for power and hit monster home runs, albeit probably with a lower on base percentage, lower batting average type of thing. I think that fits his profile very well. And I think that might frustrate some people, but I think it's more frustrating for fans to watch Giancarlo Stanton underperform or get to this backstage of the career than it is for Rockies fans to be watching Giancarlo Stanton still hit. The guy was an all-star in 2002. And the list is long there. And it's definitely, and you look kind of at the numbers and you kind of like, oh yeah, I can kind of see that. The strikeouts obviously the big thing. But if Michael Toglia can become an RBI generating, big bomb hitting first baseman that plays strong that plays strong defense, I think I'm all right with that. I'll have to dive more into these numbers, but I highly, highly suggest you go check out the Blake Street Banter stuff, where they're talking about that and diving into those, diving deeper into those numbers. But that was just one of those things that jumped out to me, and I was like, would I be okay with Toglia basically being in Giancarlo Stanton? I want it to be the more, the younger Stanton, the more dominant Stanton than as opposed to the recent Stanton. But it's an interesting one. It'll be interesting to see what a full season of prep, what a full season of getting ready, and what a full season of being the starting first baseman for the Rockies does for Toglia. We'll see what opens up the doors. Folks, that is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for joining us and making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB with our guy, Sully. He's got you covered with all things Major League Baseball. And if you need more news from around the world of Colorado sports, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Folks, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.